Right now, the Pac-12 is in a place that the movie Inception told us not to go. But how did they get out of there?
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, the number one sports podcast network out there. Thank you all, especially my everydayers, for helping make that the case. How fast can the Oklahoma State hype train go down and stay on the tracks? I will make their record prediction on today's show. And the reigning ACC champions, the most unheralded reigning Power 4 conference champion in recent memory. I'll predict their record as well on today's show, which is brought to you by our friends at Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app, use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade $10. Christian, you ever see the movie Inception, one of Christopher Nolan's best of all time?
I've seen it. It's been a little bit, but I've seen it. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a great movie. When they're in the dream space, they talk about limbo. And that's not a place you want to go because they learn that Dom has kind of tricked them, Leonardo DiCaprio, and that if they die, instead of waking up, they'll actually go into limbo. That's not good. You don't want to be right there. Right now, in a manner of speaking, the Pac-12 is in limbo because nobody knows what the league actually is. They have ideas. SP Plus has it as the best group of six league. I believe it's the best group of six league. There are also only 8 schools, and we don't know how it's going to land for a lot of folks in the college football community. So I think this first season for the Pac-12 is so vitally important. And there are a couple of different angles, but I want your thoughts on how important this first year is for the league.
I think it's vastly important. I mean, you're just trying to be successful from the jump. You want to make sure that you can find a way to prove that it's worthy of being seen as potentially in the eyes of some, still that P4A5 kind of mold, although that's not there for money. I am very strong on that. No, we're not there. It's not there. It's a group of 6 school. I've been very clear on that one on my Locked On Pac-12 folks. Some comments don't like it, but it is what it is. That's where you sit right now, especially with only 8 schools in college football. But to be able to show like, okay, we know we're not the old Pac-12. We know that's not the case, but to be able to still show that you're worthy of being able to hold that name, I think is something that you really have to carry on. You're going to be compared to the old conference for the next 5 years. And if you, in the next 5 years, let alone just year one, can prove that you're still a very good conference, and in my opinion, that's 3 college football playoffs over the next 5 years, then, okay, you're in a good spot.
I hadn't thought about it like that, a 5-year projection. 3 in the next 5 years.
3 in the next 5, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be outstanding for sure. And I think the league can get to a place where their conference champ is just seen as the favorite to come out of the group of 6 and make the college football playoff. But there are 2 main ways that I think the Pac-12 needs to make a strong first impression this year. The first is not what you would think is the first, given the 2 things I'm about to lay out here. The first one is you have to demonstrate that you have a product that people want to watch. Fans got to show up to games. Environments have to be cool. Football has to be good. It has to be a fun league at the very basic level. Like you have to have something that people are able to latch onto both within your own league and outside your league, because you're trying to convince both right now. I mean, how do you think the fans in Pullman feel after the last few years? I mean, 2 coaches in a row say, all right, we're out. You got your 3rd head coach in 3 years, and I like Kirby more. I think it could be a really good hire, but their enthusiasm can't be all that high at this point in time. And for Oregon State, I think there's a similar sentiment in some regards, like, what do we even care? So you have to draw people in within your own league. You have to have a good product. That's number 1. Number 2, you've got to go out and in the Power 4 opportunities or premier group of 6 games, you gotta win or play well. Depends on the matchup, right? Boise State, the hat you're rocking there, it's a good looking hat. I like it.
Thank you.
Boise State, week 1 goes to Oregon. Mm-hmm. It would do wonders if the perceived Pac-12 favorite goes there and is, even if it's just for a half competitive, relevant, hanging around with the Ducks, who might have the best roster in all of college football. I think those two things for the Pac-12 this year are how you define success at the end of it. Certainly you can have the goal of getting a team to the college football playoff, whether Boise pulls away or San Diego State or Fresno State's really good. You've got to do those two things, I think, to kind of ease people into what the league is.
I think this is the better conference when it comes to, programs over the last how many years having over 500 records, combined winning percentages. We've already talked about SP plus, and compared to all the rest, I do believe that they are truly better than the Sun Belt, the American, the MAC, Conference USA, and the Mountain West. So I think the only thing that will slow them down is parity. Is if it's a dog-eat-dog conference and all of a sudden you do good in your non-conference games. And for the record, you have 12 games. The Pac-12 plays 12 Power 4 opponents in the first few weeks of the season. There are plenty of opportunities to really stamp your name on this, including the one you mentioned with Boise State in Oregon. So I do think there's some really strong ways for you to really show out and say, hey, okay, we might not be the old Pac-12, but we're not going anywhere. And there is still really good football here. Pac-12 After Dark is coming back. Just wait till what Lockdown Pac-12 After Dark is going to be too. Really fun stuff coming up with this conference. And, you mentioned Oregon State and Washington State. I don't think there's a fan base or a programs that want it more for this conference to just succeed, because they certainly did feel left out and, left behind after all the old things happened. Now that they stuck around and were the OGs of this new conference, this new brand looking Pac-12, I don't think they would love nothing more for this to succeed. And in year one, regardless if it's them or not, see their conference showing up in the college football playoffs.
And it's entirely possible. And I think this is also a huge year for them to capitalize on a group of six landscape that does not have a team in the American as one of the top, I don't think, 3 favorites to go make the college football playoff entering this year, because the number one favorite and the one I see a lot of people picking is a still Mountain West school in UNLV. Totally understand that. I mean, Dan Mullen had a lot of success. Jackson Arnold's there, quarterback. UNLV could absolutely be in the fold. Speaking of Power 4 opportunities, they play Cal at home. I think it's like week 5 or somewhere in that sort of range. Those are the sorts of games, like I talk about on the show all the time. Those things are golden currency. I mean, Power 4 wins are just hard to come by, and it doesn't always matter who they're against, right? I mean, that's why New Mexico's another team in the Mountain West that I look at and say, I mean, I could see them doing it. They still have the same quarterback who knows Jason Eck's system inside and out in Jack Lane, and then they were able to go beat UCLA last year, which pivots me to this thought that'll get you out of here on, Christian. San Diego State plays UCLA.
That was literally what I was going to say right if you would have handed me the mic before you said it. Yeah,
of all the Power 4 opportunities, with all the buzz that UCLA has fairly generated this offseason, man, if San Diego State were to pull that off, I'm not saying I expect them to, but I didn't expect New Mexico to do it last year, even though, I knew UCLA was going to be bad with Deshaun Foster there. But man, if San Diego State finds a way and pulls that off, I mean, that should get plugged all over everything Pac-12 affiliated if they can get that win. But there's got to be one of those moments.
Full disclosure, I love what Chesney's doing at UCLA, love his recruiting class, but I think there is truly a chance San Diego State could catch them a year early. I think UCLA is 1 year behind, and this could be the time. So I'm definitely with you. That's what I'm thinking too when I think of these narratives. When I think about the 12 different games the Pac-12 are going to play against these Power 4 opponents, that one certainly sticks out. There is no doubt about it.
Couple wins, moral victories are a thing, just so people can go, oh, hey, it's halftime. Why is USC only up 10 on Fresno State? Maybe they pull away in the second half. Or, oh, it's halftime. Why is Boise's within 1 score of Oregon? Again? Is this really? Those sorts of moments, they can add up over time and make a difference. Christian Rao, locked on Pac-12.
Texas Tech in Corvallis.
Oh, gosh. If Will Hammond isn't starting, it doesn't matter because Jamarcus Shepard has told you their roster isn't ready to win. And if they somehow push Texas Tech, I don't care if you or I are starting a quarterback. That would be, look at Christian Rao, locked on Pac-12, leaning into the conference brand, of course. Oklahoma State is trying to lean into winning. I tell you what, Cody Stovall of Locked On Oklahoma State is about to come on here and tell me I am a darn fool. First, this episode brought to you by our friends over at Kalshi. Before the season even kicks off, everyone's making predictions like I'm doing here on the show with every team's record. Who wins the conference? Who makes the playoff? Who misses the playoff? Who wins the national championship? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. Say you wanted to trade on Indiana to repeat, Indiana to miss the playoff. That would be bold. Ohio State to break through, LSU to have an incredible season, win it all, whatever you want, you can trade for it on Kalshi, where you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade $10. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. In my many years as a college football fan, I don't know if I can remember a time in which a team at the Power 4 level or any level went 1-11, was unquestionably the worst in all of Power 4, and in one off season was receiving preseason AP top 25 votes. But that is the case for none other than the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Cody Stovall at All Day O State, host of Locked On Oklahoma State here at the network, joins me to discuss because, Cody, this is, I think, a really great time to be an Oklahoma State fan because you feel good about the coaching hire. You feel much better about the team. But guess what? It's still year one. So as a fan, emotionally, you still have house money. You could hope that it goes really well and they pop to win 7, 8, or 9 games. But if they only win 4 or 5, hey, that's still better than last year. And it's the first year. Hey, you can allow for things to go off the rails. What do you think about that?
Spencer, that idea ain't worth a velvet paint and 2 dolphins getting it on. You do not pay a quarterback $7.5 million to go win 4 flipping football games, bro. That doesn't happen. It can never happen. Oklahoma State needs to be at least in that 7-5 kind of category for the amount of money that we spent on the roster, for the amount of money we spent for the big 3. You are going to have an expectation to have an instantaneous level of result, right? So I think Oklahoma State is in a position from a talent acquisition standpoint to be ultra competitive, to be a team that could be in that 8-9 win conversation. And that is precisely where I have the Cowboys. I think on paper, we should lose to Oregon. We should lose to Houston. We should lose to Texas Tech. I think Arizona State, Kansas State are both toss-up games. I don't think we win both of them, but I do think we win one of them. So realistically, that is where the barometer of success should be for Oklahoma State. Anything under 6-6 would be a massive disappointment for the amount of NFL potential we have on this roster and the amount of money that we spent to get this roster.
Okay, optimistic view. I get it. And you know what? I respect the boldness there. And you mentioned the schedule, which we are definitely going to go through. Don't lose to Tulsa again, Cody. Don't do it. don't do it. That's where the season begins. You have to go to Tulsa. That's about what, 90-minute drive from Stillwater?
Not even.
Yeah, you got to get. Hey, I've been to both places. I enjoyed my time at both tremendously. Stillwater, Tulsa, fun spots to go. Anyway, I think they'll be okay right there. Oregon, I agree, it's a loss. Murray State, that's a loss. At West Virginia,
what do you mean?
Cody,
what do you mean we're going to lose to Murray State?
No. Murray State's a win.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, sorry, I glossed over that because it's Murray State. The Ja Morant equivalent in football is not walking through the door as far as I am concerned there. But I'm actually giving some
going for the jugular. You're going to lose to Oregon and Murray State. I was like,
Oregon and Murray State. Yeah, put those down as losses. Most definitely not with Murray State. And look, I am legitimately interested to see how they perform against Oregon because there is no better measuring stick for anyone in college football. I think this is, at the very least, the 3rd best roster in all of college football. It might be 1st. And if you put together a competitive game against the Ducks, then the expectations and optimism will skyrocket no matter what perspective you have about this football program going into the year. But if you do wind up getting blown out, FanDuel has it as Oregon minus 18.5 at the moment. Let's say Oregon covers that number and wins 44-20. No harm done, right? Like that's a game that you got to be able to say, okay, we didn't expect to get there just yet.
I disagree because of the negative stigma already attached to the Big 12. If Oklahoma State doesn't make it a 10-point ball game against Oregon, then they're going to be dismissive in the Big 12 the entire year because of, they might be able to beat Texas Tech and BYU, but look what happened against Oregon. So they're still not a real contending football team. On the flip side of that equation, if we do make it a 7, 8, 10-point ball game, and then we beat Texas Tech, and then we beat Houston, then the conversation shifts dramatically in Oklahoma State's favor and the Big 12's favor. So I disagree with that idea that if we could lose 44-20 and it still be viewed as a positive, I don't think so. The Big 12's not in a position to get consolation prizes this upcoming year.
Val, I don't think anyone's expecting Oklahoma State to hang with Oregon there. I think you can definitely gain from a good game. I don't think you're going to lose a whole lot perception-wise. I think there are other matchups that are far more important. Like Utah's got to handle Arkansas, who I don't think will be very good in the SEC this year. Or Arizona State needs to at least hang with Texas A&M because those are both teams from their respective conference that could wind up in
Baylor
the
needs to beat North Carolina.
No, Baylor plays Auburn.
That's right.
Yeah, Baylor and Auburn. That's another. I think those games are more realistic for what you're talking about, which I agree. There is a component there. So I don't know if you're going to be upset with me.
Oklahoma State upsets Oregon, that's bigger than BYU beating Notre Dame. I don't think it's going to happen. But if it were to happen, that would be the biggest kiss of amazingness for the Big 12, even more so than the Notre Dame, North Carolina, Auburn conversations.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you there. That would be more. I mean, BYU beating Notre Dame would be substantial. Don't get me wrong. Oregon was in the Final Four last year, and Notre Dame was not in the playoff. A lot of people have high expectations for Notre Dame this year, but I think that being an early game too, it would be a perception shifter, no doubt. So,
well, and Spencer, I know I talk too much and I'm derailing, but
you're good. You're good.
This Oregon conversation is a little bit more layered. Should you guys beat us? Yes. Should you theoretically beat us like a redheaded stepchild and drag us behind the shed and teach us a thing or two? Yes. However, you lost two of the best coordinators in America, and it's an 11 o'clock kickoff. And I think you've got to take into consideration that Oklahoma State is probably, hopefully, going to be so very vanilla against Tulsa that Oregon really doesn't have a lot to prepare for. I think that you guys are going to prepare for Skylar Cassidy's 3-3-5 system that he's been running for the last 5-6 years. But if he has an opportunity to throw in some massive wrinkles, it needs to be the Oregon game. And if all of those things do come together to be a perfect storm and we can get up 14-0 early, maybe we do make it much more interesting going into the fourth quarter. If we have to play catch up, I mean, as much as I love the offensive weapons we have, if we have to play catch up, I think it could get out of hand somewhat quickly. Yeah,
when they return to games that they have a better chance on paper of contending in, I don't know if you're going to...
You mean like Murray State?
Disown... I don't know if you're going to disown me altogether or not. I went through this, and look, to an extent, I think this is me hopping on the Eric Morris train because of what he did last year. I mean, he had a borderline college football playoff team last year, and a decent chunk of those guys are now, I know it was at the group of 6 level, but a decent chunk of those guys are now playing for Oklahoma State. I went through the schedule, and I think there are a couple of tough breaks and tough stretches in there. I landed on 6-6 for Oklahoma State. I do like the over 5.5. I could see him going 7-5. I struggle to get to 8 or 9 wins with this schedule.
I honestly assumed you were going to come into this at 7-5. That's what I prepared myself for.
Okay.
6-6 is, I mean, listen, it's somewhat reasonable. I get it. There are going to be questions. Can all of these guys make this G5 jump? Can all of these, Power 4 transfers that have come in, can they find continuity within the system that is going to be primarily geared to the North Texas players? 80 new dudes. There's a lot of things that Oklahoma State is going to have to overcome to have an 8-9 win style of season. But again, I think when you just look at it from a talent perspective, Spencer, you know this. Mm-hmm. If you took the best backup quarterback in the country, all right? I mean, heck, you could even look at your backup quarterback. Let's throw him into this equation. If you put him against the best high school defense in America, he's probably not thrown for 4,600 yards, bro. Like putting up those kind of numbers.
You don't wait. You don't think Oregon's Dylan Raiola could have a 4,000-yard season against a high school defense?
I don't know.
All right, we're all over the place on this one today. Oh boy. So
I do think he could, but you get my point. There's a lot of backup country or quarterbacks in America that could play a high school team all season and not put up 4,600 yards. That's all I'm saying. That's hard to do on air against no competition. So is there going to be a differentiation between the G6 and the Big 12? Absolutely, no doubt. But this is year 3 in the system for Drew Mestemaker. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, he's more comfortable with the system. He can run the 2-minute offense all by himself. Eric Morris has said he doesn't even necessarily have to call plays anymore because Drew Mestemaker is an extension of the coach on the field. I think all of that is going to be visible, even though there's a big jump.
Yeah, and look, Mestemaker is a huge reason I have enough confidence to put Oklahoma State where I actually had them last year, which was making a bowl game, and then they went 1-11. That wasn't good. We don't need to relive all of that. But here are the losses. So I've got Oregon as a loss. Then I think they lose 5 games in conference play, but rack up enough wins to make a bowl game, which I think they'd probably be favored to win depending on who they match up against. But I think they have a 3-game losing skid in November. Their November slate's just brutal. At Kansas State, Texas Tech, at Arizona State. Hosting Kansas, I think, is a win. But at K-State, I'm taking the Wildcats there. Texas Tech at home, taking the Red Raiders. At Arizona State, I love Arizona State. And then October 17th at Houston is the other one that I have as a loss going into the year. And then there's one more. Would you like to guess where I have the other loss?
Well, looking at the schedule, I'm assuming you're probably about to say West Virginia or UCF.
I am about to say West Virginia. I don't hate what Rich Rodriguez is building there at all. In fact, I like it. Yeah. It's on the road early in the season. Fans will still have plenty of juice and buzz in Morgantown. Like, I think that's a pretty darn difficult football game to go out there and win. But if they win that game, I'm not going to, flip things around and say, oh, well, it's just West Virginia, all that sort of stuff. No, that would be a marker of notable. That would be a notable marker for me that Oklahoma State is, okay, they're here, they can do this, and they might win 7 or 8 games. And then by year 2, they might be a Big 12 title contender if they keep Mestemaker.
Yeah. I mean, and I've been on record saying this, the biggest benefit to us in the scheduling is the fact that we do get West Virginia early, because I share the same sentiment as you do. I think that they've got enough talent with Mike Hawkins and Cam Cook and Jaden Bray, and apparently they go like 9-10 deep that could start on the offensive line. When you have those components, you're going to be really, really good. And you have a quarterback that runs a 4.3 40, right? But I think it's going to take a little bit more time for them to establish the continuity that Oklahoma State's going to come into the season with because of the 18 North Texas transfers, because we had North Texas transfers at literally every level. Like every position on the field, there's a North Texas transfer. So I think from a schematic standpoint, our players are going to be much more adapted. I know I can't speak English very well. They're going to be much more adept. Little words are hard for me. It's because I went to the school for kids who can't speak good. Nonetheless, I think that since we get them early and it is a morning game, that definitely benefits us. If you catch West Virginia at the tail end of the season, especially in a night game, I think that is a loss for a lot of teams in this conference. We're just the beneficiaries of getting them early enough in the season that I think they'll still be working through some kinks.
Yeah, I think it's a valid perspective. I still think there's enough there to like, but it's going to be a fun football game for sure, and that will precede the bye on the schedule for Oklahoma State.
Will, why are you so confident on K-State getting it done over O-State?
Because they're at home, because Avery Johnson, I think, is a guy that just needs the right coaching, and Colin Klein, while I don't think K-State's a Big 12 title contender, even though their schedule is really easy, I think that his system for Avery Johnson's skill set unlocks a version of him that we haven't seen yet, because we just kind of saw it last year with Marcel Reed. I know they lost a couple big pieces in the transfer portal this offseason, but overall, I think Kansas State is good. I don't think they're in the top tier of the Big 12. I think they're in the second tier of the Big 12. So playing a game like that on the road, I think is going to be a tough spot for Oklahoma State. We'll wrap it there. Cody Stovall, Locked On Oklahoma State. He's so glad he's got a coastal elite like me on here to correct his grammar and such. And when we get back to wrap today's show, just how hard do the reigning ACC champions fall down? All right, so Duke won the ACC last year, and they have to be, in recent memory, one of the least expected things of, I don't know how to put this exactly, English is hard. They have the lowest expectations of any reigning Power 4 ACC or any Power 4 conference champion, frankly, that I can remember. Because last year, they were a 7-5 football team. They lost to UConn. And then this offseason, they lost their quarterback and they lost their star wide receiver there at Miami, Darian Mensah and Cooper Barcade, both of whom were great last year. There's another great receiver that they lost. They did bring in a 1,000-yard receiver via the transfer portal. They return a 1,000-yard running back. They don't know who their quarterback is going to be. Now, here's a look at their schedule. As I record this show here on August 19th, Manny Diaz has not yet named a starting quarterback. And it's either going to be Walker Eget, who they got at the 11th hour in the transfer portal, who was at San Jose State last year. He was all right, over 3,000 yards. Not a great T to INT ratio or yards per attempt, 17 touchdowns, 9 picks, just under 8 yards per attempt last season, 59% completion. Not amazing. It could be him. It could be Dan Mahan, who was a 3-star recruit in the class of 2025, obviously knows the system, watched Darian Mensah run it very effectively a season ago. Those guys are reportedly battling it out, and they better figure it out by September 5th, lest they lose to Tulane once again. And the way that Duke, goes about this schedule is they need to get off to a strong start, because I think the number of winnable games fades considerably as the season goes along. So they are, according to FanDuel, about a 10-point favorite at home against Tulane. My everydayers know I am not super high on Tulane this year. I think they're absolutely having a massive reset. I'm not crazy about what the Green Wave have going on at quarterback entering this year. So some question marks there. Duke has that game at home. I do think that will be a win. Then they go at Illinois, and both teams are resetting at quarterback from last year. And Illinois won this game at Duke very comfortably a year ago. I think they will win pretty comfortably again. So the Duke fall off is going to happen from last year. They are not going to repeat as ACC champions. They are not going to be, on the precipice of getting what would this year be an automatic berth to the college football playoff. Because don't forget, if the rules that are in place now existed a season ago, Duke would have been in the playoff instead of James Madison. And they probably would have been the ones to get blown out by Oregon there had they gotten into the field, because they would have been in at 8-5, which is why I don't like auto bids, but I digress. They host Stanford, then they play William and Mary at home on September 19th and 20th. Neither one of those games are going to be widely consumed by a lot of folks. Stanford just recently named Davis Warren, yes, that Davis Warren of Michigan fame, as their starting quarterback. Duke should be able to win that game no matter who is behind center for the Blue Devils, or if it's a rotation of the two guys. If they're going back and forth between Eget and Mahan, then maybe, that's what they see as the best option. They have to let guys fight it out during the season in addition to before the season. We'll see. I imagine Manny Diaz wants to name a full-time starter well before September 5th. But then they have a bye, and after that, man, it's just hard to find wins. Our friends at FanDuel have this win total set at 5.5. I'm taking the under here. I did land on 5 and 7. FanDuel is annoyingly good when I make these predictions at getting the total just exactly right. I could see them going under, frankly. I have too much faith in Manny Diaz, though, to think they're going to fall all the way down and go 3 and 9. So I think 4 and 8 is the floor. I do, however, believe that if their defense, and Manny Diaz is a defensive guy, if they can fix that side of the ball after a massive step back last year when their defense was really just getting carried by Darian Mensah and the offense all season long, if they can correct that, then they're probably closer to a 7 or 6 win team. So after the bye, they go at Georgia Tech. I think that's a loss. One of my, I don't know if you call it an upset, look-ahead line is actually a sub 5-point spread in favor of Duke, even though they're at home against North Carolina. I think North Carolina is going to upset them in that game. Until I see something from Duke against either Illinois or Georgia Tech that makes me think, okay, they're closer to last year than I gave them credit for. They didn't have some spectacular offseason where they brought in, star players in the transfer portal. Like, they're going to really have to develop the guys that either were on the roster. They do have a very experienced secondary. I like that, but it's a group that has to improve a whole heck of a lot. And their best player in the secondary from a year ago, arguably, is now playing for Ohio State. So after North Carolina, and I think Georgia Tech is a loss too, they go at Virginia. I think it's a 3-game skid. I think they beat Boston College, but then at NC State, at Miami, Clemson at home, and at Wake Forest. That's a tough month of November to have to play Miami and Clemson back-to-back, to have 3 or 4 games in that month on the road, the time of year where everybody is beat up more than they obviously are at the start of the season. I think they will beat Wake Forest. I think they can beat Wake Forest, I should say. I think they could beat Clemson because I'm not very high on Clemson this year either. There's a world in which Duke goes 0-4 in that stretch. I think 2-2 is absolute best case in the month of November. And I would take them to go 1-3 before I pick them to go 3-1, which is where I landed on there. So I think Duke falls back with some tough scheduling breaks and misses a bowl game this year. And look, that stinks for a program that really wanted to get serious about football and gave Mensa a 2-year, $8 million contract, top tier money. Miami just offered more. And that's going to be a really, really hard hit. It was late in the process. So now they've got a battle between, a talented, by the way, Dan Mahan, go watch his tape, 6'2", $195. He's not super big, but he's got a pretty darn good arm. And he's mobile, really interesting quarterback prospect. I just don't know if he's ready because coming into this year, a year ago at this time, Duke would have told you that now Miami quarterback Darian Mensah would be their starter for 2026, and he's not. So I don't know if he's fully ready to go, but I land 5-7 for the Blue Devils this year, and what'll be, I think, one of the biggest pullbacks from any team's final season outcome from a year ago. So bit of a dark note to end on, but them's the breaks. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.